Good morning. We see in the gospel today, or we hear in the gospel today, an interesting couple of lines. So Judas had just left the Last Supper to go betray Jesus, and Jesus knew that's what he was leaving for. And he said, when Jesus had left, Jesus said, "Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glory him in himself, and he will glorify him at once." Now, when we hear this word glory, we usually don't think of Jesus of being betrayed, suffering, and dying. Right? So what does this mean? That God is glorified in Jesus' suffering. The word glory in the Old Testament generally means some physical manifestation of Yahweh. In other words, God's attribute was holiness. That's God's nature, is to be holy. But we can't see God's nature. We can only see the effects of God's nature. So we can't see God's holiness, but we can see God's glory. And so a great action by God, a great thunder or lightning or fire coming down from the sky, or the pillar of fire leading the Israelites, this was God's glory, right? By the time of the New Testament, the understanding of that word had changed a little bit. It wasn't always a physical manifestation, as in some great theatrical moment. And we have this famous line from St. Irenaeus: "The glory of God is man fully alive." What does it mean to glorify God, to give God glory? Well, what we see, the reason Jesus' betrayal and passion and death and resurrection give glory to God is because he was redeeming the world by these actions. He was saving the world, which is God's greatest act, right? Even greater than creating the world is God redeeming the world. And so any action that furthers the redemption of the world is an action that gives God glory. And Jesus, in his complete acceptance of God's will, his complete acceptance of his upcoming passion and death, gives God glory because it allows God to redeem the world. It allows God to do God's work in the world. And so with us, if we want to give God glory, then we turn over our lives to God. We cooperate with God's work in the world. And when we do that, we're fully alive, which can seem odd if we're looking at the world from an earthly point of view. And again, here's that tension I talked about yesterday between the heavenly life and the earthly life. For us, when we think of glory, we think of a great accomplishment. And in our time, it's a great accomplishment that everybody can see and know about. You know what I mean? I heard a line on a TV show somewhere with young people today. If it's not on Facebook or they don't tweet about it, it didn't happen. So a glory is all these adulations that come to us from all these people. It's some great success in the world. Well, we know that's not the heavenly life. Jesus is the prime example. But look at all the martyrs who were destroyed in life, lost their lives, sometimes very early. Think of the teenage martyrs, someone killed before they can even be an adult. But this is God's glory because it's the redemption of the world showing forth. That people can look at us and see God in us, And even if they don't notice it, what about obscure saints that nobody's ever heard of? Some small act of love that you do for someone that no one sees. Some small act of turning over your life to God. This gives God glory. This is what glory means. Not great adulations in our names in lights and our own TV show. Glory is acceptance of God's will in our lives, is turning over our lives to God, allowing God's redemptive work to continue in us. And if we do this, we can give God glory just as Jesus gave God glory. All right. Still praying for you. I'll see you.